next level. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Kevin Latmore. He's an icon in this industry, guys. He is one of the one percenters. He's considered the one percenters in this industry, guys. So we are honored and privileged to be in partnership with Mr. Kevin Latmore. So without further ado, Mr. Kevin Latmore, the floor is yours. Take it away, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure and an honor, and we're just going to dive straight into it. Today's topic is quite clear as it's listed right there for all to see: goal setting. And goal setting is truly the key to success. And, you know, we're in a business where it's all about goals. So let's just dive straight into it and get you guys where you need to be. Now, it might seem like it makes sense to a lot of people, but sometimes the most obvious things still need to be said. You cannot hit a target that does not exist. So many people don't set goals. They just kind of join a business or start some kind of project without an actual tangible goal in mind. Then they wonder why they don't have any results. Well, they never outlined what it was that they needed to do. So first and foremost, you need to set a goal. Otherwise, you're just floundering. Otherwise, you're just wasting time. Now, I'll just give you some examples throughout this presentation. None of it is bragging. I like to do big things. I have big dreams. I have big goals. So sometimes there's going to be some big numbers. Certainly not to try to brag. This is just my story. And, you know, everyone, you can try to do more. You could try to do the same, or you could try to do X% of what I do, but I'm just giving you a point of reference. I'm speaking from the heart. This presentation was very easy for me to throw together because, to be honest, it's my everyday life. I came from a hard place. I'm not down and out, not desperate, not all these things, but I do have a large family, you know, beautiful wife and 5 children. And when I used to work at Costco was a pretty decent job 15, 16, 17 years ago, but $45,000 a year. You're not starving, but you're certainly not thriving, right? So when I got into network marketing, the reason was someone told me, what would you do if I can show you a way to make your annual income your monthly income? And I just said, keep talking. I'm taking notes already. And, you know, funny thing happens. You know, we've had months where we've been able to do those kind of numbers. So a lot of people say people hype things up too much. I beg to differ. Sometimes it's too little. It all really depends on what we do with what we have. So I was in a company, one of my most famous runs. I set up a company that, I got myself set up within a company where I saw they had about 55 millionaires for a position called Diamond. And all I knew about Diamond was it was $1 million per month in volume. And anybody that was consistently doing that was making at least $1 million per year. So I said, well, if 55 people do it, I'm not going to be the one to at least hit Diamond and not earn that $1 million like the rest of them, right? I got to be better than at least one. And if the worst of the 55 was doing it, then I knew I could be in a very, very good place. And what I did is I deconstructed Diamond. You needed this many persons. You need that many on this leg, this many on that leg. And most importantly, the big elephant in the room was you had to do $1 million in volume for the calendar month. And so we came straight out the gates with a plan. I worked it out on this big whiteboard behind me that I guess you can't see on this video. And I spent a week just mapping out Diamond, putting the plan together in my head, maybe even 2 weeks, because I really like to plan and measure things. That's one thing that's really helped me in life, and especially in this business. So let's dive into what happened with that a little bit. Here I am just a few months after joining the business. A lot of these people on stage are the diamonds, of course. And of all the diamonds, and this is in Singapore in front of 20,000 people, who are they featuring? The fastest diamond. Because next to me, the other fastest diamond on that stage in a company that had 3 million representatives, not just customers, but representatives. The record used to be 7 months when I started, and I was able to do it in not 90 days, but in 60 days. I hit it on my 60th day, which is a whole other chapter we could make for this training. You make a plan to do something crazy in 90 days, and if you really work that plan, and if you're really committed, and if you share that vision with other people, magic happens. And you take something that people said couldn't be done in 90, and you smash that goal and do it in 60. And one of the reasons, by the way, that that was done was so I started that business on December 1st. I hit my goal on January 31st, and then February would have been a short month. So I knew if I couldn't do it in January with 31 days, I thought it would be difficult to do it in February with 28 days. And on the 7th of March was our annual convention. And I just figured, you know, I certainly can't do it in 7 days of March, right? Because the calendar resets itself. The counter for your volume resets every month. So,
Hi, Kevin.
but I smashed it.
Hi, Kevin. Your volume is coming across very low. I don't know
really?
if you can make an adjustment.
Okay, thanks for the update. I thought I was speaking. I thought you were going to say too loud. Let me check the mic. Is it a little bit better now?
Still a little low.
Okay, I got this mic right up in my face, but let's go and I'll try to make up for it with. This is all I got. Giving it all she's got, Captain.
I mean, it's good. It's good. Go ahead.
Okay, if it's really something, then I can try to make another adjustment. Let me try one more thing on the mic here. Microphone, see if there's some settings. Well, you know what? Let me switch mics altogether. Shucks. Is it any better with this microphone off the laptop directly?
Yeah, it's a bit better, yes.
Okay, I'm switching away from the condenser mic to the switching from the $200 mic to the $10 mic. Whatever works.
Awesome. Take it away.
So anyways, enough about this. Just let's see what happened with it, right? So here we are. And the funny thing about all these other diamonds on stage, you can't see them. By the way, this is one of 3 monitors up there that you see. This is how wide the stage was. This is a third of it. And I did a training because even all these diamonds on stage, as you can see, they're even looking up in awe as to what's going on. All asked me backstage for training. I was like, I was on Google and YouTube learning from you guys. I'm the new kid on the block. Right? So they just didn't plan. That what they said was actually very telling. They said that they just worked and worked and worked and worked. And one day there was a picture of a diamond in the back office. And they said, what's that mean? And it meant that they got all kinds of bonuses and good things. They're like, the difference is you knew exactly what day that thing would come and they couldn't be any more right. So we all know if you fail to plan, then you do what? You plan to fail. Hopefully you're working this out at home or wherever you're watching as well. And by the way, that's one of the keys to getting things done is highest energy wins. Participate, participate, participate. So if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. You actually want to fail because you're not planning and you know that's part of the game. You've heard this quote before. That's why I didn't write out the last word. And so you got to be proactive when it comes to these things. And it's all these little things, and I don't think planning is a little thing, by the way, that make all the difference in the world. You guys see a business that you like, someone sends you a link, you just click on it, you sign up, and you do your best. And then you're upset when your best isn't enough, right? You got to plan. Oh, we skipped something. And then so you plan to fail. And look at this. This is very telling. This is, you know, all the things that happen. We get angry with ourselves, failure, suffering. You're tired, you're depressed, you're mad, all these things, right? So why not, even though planning might be a little bit hard too, is it really going to put you in a place as bad as this? Of course not. So let's take the path of least resistance and of the biggest gains, which is the plan. Now, again, back to our original topic, we're going to talk about goals and not just any goals, SMART goals. And even if you heard this acronym before, we're going to play with it a little bit and touch on it and expose it to you in a way that might be a little bit different. I know it's worked incredibly well for me and my family and a lot of my business partners. I've taught some of these concepts to over time. And, you know, you see what it is there. We're going to break right through it, but it's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely, right? SMART goals. It makes all the difference. You don't want to just be out there willy-nilly. Let's talk about the first one, specific. They have to be set. They have to be set, right? By set, not meaning just set your goals, set in stone. This is what it is. This is the plan. My plan was 90 days. I followed it so clearly that it exploded. And so many people believed in my plan. I worked out smaller plans for them, or some just wanted to come for the ride. They're like, I don't know if I can do what this guy is asking me, but I think he's honestly going to do $1 million in 90 days. And I just want to be close to him so I can get whatever crumbs fall off of the table, right? And that's fine because every single person, everybody that put in $1, $5, $10, $80, $100, made a difference. Yes, I wanted people buying $500 and $1,000 packs, but it would have never, believe me, I made it by like 1 cent at midnight on the last day. So yes, every single dollar truly did count. It can't be in what I put the ... I want to get a new car, or I want to make money, or I want to, just all these things that are just so arbitrary. How much money and why? When do you want to make it by? A new car? What kind of car? Do you want just like a Malibu? Maybe you do, nothing wrong with that. But what color Malibu? How many doors? What size tires? What this? What that? Brand new, used, low mileage, demo? It's all relevant. And if you can't even do that, if you can't specifically choose the car that you want, if you're just like, meh, even if you're thinking right now, any car would be fine, it's a problem. Learn to be specific. That's why you're not getting the things that you want. That's why you're one of the people that's calling people like myself lucky all the time. We're not lucky. We have a strategy. Copy our strategy, get our results. You want to choose a rank. So at a business that we're working right now, it's called Epic. It's a great Forex company. It's absolutely exploding. The goal that these guys have was to have 40,000 people in 40 days. By the end of 30 days, they had 52,000, right? They obliterated their goal. They had a goal to do 100,000 pips for the year, or I don't even know if it's for the year. They're doing an average of 20-something thousand pips per week. They had to readjust their goals, just like me. They exploded through them, right? So we have ranks like Ambassador 10, which is $10,000 a month, Icon 100, which is $100,000 a month. And now if you're in a company that's based on volume, it could be a volume, but be specific about that number. Write it down, embed it in your mind. Make sure everybody around you knows you're shooting for this number by this date, right? It could be a recruiting goal. That's a little bit light. I want to sponsor 2 new people this month or this week, which is good too, which is very, very good. But have that, what's that going to mean for the month, the year, so on and so forth? What's that going to mean in terms of volume? Flesh it out. A lot of people take networking too much for granted. They take it too simply. They don't realize how much of a business it was. For those of you in Canada, I remember doing a meeting once in a place called Second Cup. So it's kind of like Tim Hortons, but not as big, obviously not as famous, and not as commercialized, a little bit more, slightly more upper class. But at the end of the day, it was an upper class Dunkin' Donuts, not quite a Starbucks. And I was talking to the owner there, and he bought that franchise, I think, for about $500,000. It could have been more, actually. I do think it was more. And at the time, I was in a business that cost me $500. And I was making $75,000 a month. $75,000 a month off a $500 investment. When I was speaking to him, I said, if you own this place, and I was very respectful. I'm a sponge when it comes to business. I like to learn what people are up to, what they're doing, how they're doing it. And he said, I go, why are you working here if you own the place? He said, if I had to hire 1 more employee, I would be out of business in less than 90 days. So what he's done for $500,000, he had bought himself a job. And the point I'm making there is, and just think about it, probably pay an employee in Canada, maybe $12, $13 an hour. $12, $13 an hour, let's say times 10 hours a day, let's say, call it $150 a day. $150 a day. If he had to spend that extra, he'd be out of business. And here, so just for perspective. So we got to think as strongly and as hard as actual business owners that put $500,000 on the line. You have to attack your home-based business the exact same way. You have to plan on doing it come blank or high water, right? Come hell or high water. You just have to have these things. You have to control yourself, because the problem is we work for ourselves and we don't have that discipline of having a boss breathing down our neck. And sometimes some of us really, really need that. They have to be measurable goals. My motto is, what gets measured gets improved. What gets measured gets improved. Or sometimes I say, what gets measured gets done, right? Nobody wants to leave something half done, especially if it's like a cause and effect. Do this, get that. Well, that is usually money or recognition, and usually both if this is network marketers that are listening to this. So measure, 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 measure. There's no way, that's one of my most famous things. Actually, I also say measure twice and cut once, right? Cuts down on mistakes. Measure something and measure it again before you start cutting. Too many people cut too quickly in this world, especially in business, and they can't figure out why they're making mistakes. You don't play sports with no scoreboard, right? It's the same thing. That goes back to the measuring part. If you didn't know what the score was, the score changes how coaches coach. You know, you don't start a football game throwing it as far as you can, as hard as you can, and just hoping your team catches it. Because 9 times out of 10, that'll be an interception, meaning the other team will catch it and you will lose. But on the last play of the game, when you have nothing else to lose, you're already going to lose anyways. Of course, you just heave it without looking. Of course, the last play of a basketball game, you shoot from half court with one arm spinning backwards. You're just trying anything to make it work. That's because you see the scoreboard. You know what the stakes are. You know where you are. You know you need a miracle. You know you need to reach down deep. And the same thing with your business, right? There's things called rallies, called momentum. Change your game plan. Hopefully you had a game plan. You adjusted according to what's being measured. What was your rank or volume last month? You need to know these things. You need to write these down. If you're watching this video, you're probably a serious business person. Write down every single month what your rank was and your volume, and you start to see patterns over time. And patterns are the goal that helps me figure out what I'm doing, where I need to go, what I need to fix, and so on and so forth. So much comes from that kind of data. And anybody that works closely with me, they get scared when I call because they usually don't pick up on the first ring. They usually don't pick up at all. They scramble to go check their volume and their numbers, especially what their volume is for today, because they know it's the first thing I'm going to ask them, even if I'm just calling to say, hi, how you doing? Or to check in on their kids, or to just say what a sunny day it is. I'm still going to say, so what's your volume right now? They know I'm going to ask, and I've embarrassed them 100 times when they're like, oh, I'm not really sure. I was like, I thought you wanted to put your kids in college. I thought you wanted a black Corvette with, you know, butterfly wing doors. How are you going to do that when you don't know your phone? You know what I mean? So they get to know. And I'm not being, I want to do that to people that say they want that type of coaching, want that type of accountability, really desperately need these results, came to me with tears in their eyes when they said they need to make money fast. You better at least know your volume. You got to know the score. How many recruits? How many customers? What's your volume? Hopefully you guys are reading ahead to keep up, because I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit. How many promoted team ranks? These are all various things you can measure. I like this last one that I snuck in there. What was your volume this quarter? Let's add 3 months together. Let's look at what we're doing. Instead of month to month, sometimes the growth is incremental. Maybe you had a bad month. Maybe there was like, I live in Florida. Maybe there was a hurricane, which that's a whole week of stress. Maybe you're in California. There's a week of fires. Maybe you were like somewhere and it was Easter and you had family in town and that really tanked your numbers for April, right? So sometimes you want to look quarter to quarter, and you can also measure over last year and get a good little summary of what your trajectory is. You know, I put Q4 there. You know, that's how businesses talk. You have a business. What's your Q4 numbers, right? It's important. Start to think like that. Are your goals attainable? Basically, can you do it? Will you do it? You know, it's possible, right? But will you do it? Are you willing to do what this goal is? This is something you got to talk about right when you come up with it and write it down. I want to be a billionaire by Christmas. Well, Christmas is in 2.5 months. You better have a really good way of making money for that to happen, right? So it's got to be realistic to some degree. Who else has done it? That's a good way to measure. Are other people doing what you're trying to do? If nobody on planet Earth has ever done it, little difficult, you know what I mean? But possible. Like back to me with trying to do my $1 million a month. The first person that did $1 million a month in one of my businesses did it in their 7th month. So that one, they've done it, but they haven't done it in that time frame. That's different. So it's possible. Just how do I get to that end result quicker or sooner? And that was my planning, my measuring, my so on and so forth. Are you better, hungrier, more focused, more talented, or more connected than those people? If someone's done it before, then they've cleared a bit of a path for you to do it, right? I think of Roger Bannister with the 4-minute mile. Google that if you don't know the name Roger Bannister. He's the first person to ever run a 4-minute mile. As a matter of fact, doctors and scientists actually said no human could run that fast. And if they did, they would probably die. When he finally did it, the first human to do it, sorry, I can't remember I used to train on this a lot. Remember the year he did it, but it wasn't that long ago. 2 weeks later, the second person did it. And before the end of that year, I think it was 10, 15, 20 people did it. Now, if you can't run a 4-minute mile, you are not considered a runner. You're a jogger. You're just someone who jogs around your neighborhood, but you certainly aren't doing it for any kind of sport or Olympics or anything of that nature. That is the standard. That is no longer some record-setting achievement, right? So it's been done. Your goal should stretch you. You see the word should is capitalized for a reason, right? It should stretch you a bit. I put there, I was being nice, and then I said, you know what? It should stretch you a lot. You know what BHAG means? I'm giving you a dramatic pause right now. It stands for big, hairy, audacious goal. You need to have a BHAG, right? That doesn't have to be your normal one. This could be like, you could have your regular goal and you have your BHAG goal. Or if you really, like if you've been hitting all your goals too easily, then you come up with what's called a BHAG. It's just an acronym that who knows who started it. And it got kind of taken up by those of us in the personal development community, people that are really focused on goals. Just something really, really crazy. I want to triple my income this year, or whatever your number or whatever your situation is. You need a BHAG. Is your goal relevant? Relevant. Now, some use for SMART also say realistic, but I found that to be too close to attainable. Is it relevant? Does it make any sense? Do you even want this goal? Do you even want this goal? Meaning and value, right? Like, are you just saying it to say it? Is it something that, like, when it gets difficult, like, I see a lot of people, I have some weight to lose. I'm in and out of gyms and stuff like that. I need to lose like 70 pounds immediately, right? I need to do it because I like to wear, I got a lot of nice clothes. I got a lot of expensive threads, man. And sometimes I just like to feel good wearing good clothes. And for health reasons, as we get older, you don't want to have extra weight that you're carrying around. So I need to do it. I hate these people, and I don't hate them, that's the wrong word, but people that, oh man, I really need to lose 5 pounds. And the person's like 104. It's like, are you serious right now? Skip one meal, you can lose 4 or 5 pounds. But it has to have meaning to you. Meaning, and the reason for that segue was, when it gets difficult, are you going to stick to that goal? Is it that worth it to you to actually do this, right? So consider that. So here I want you to visualize and personalize the value or risk reward as well, right? What are you going to get out of this goal? What's it going to make you feel like? What's it going to do for you versus how hard do you have to work at it, and what kind of time away from your kids or your spouse, or, giving up overtime at work, or maybe putting in overtime. Maybe it doesn't always have to be business. Obviously, mostly business people are watching this, but maybe you're just trying to save up money by working extra hours at work as well. You can also make sure that the actions or rewards of the goal make sense with what you want, the desired outcome. So is there congruency, right? Last one is timely or time bound. This is like, they're all important, but this is important too. Maybe one of the most important ones of them all. You must have a date. You must have a date for your goal. Like for me, the first slide I put up, it was like a 90 days to do $1 million in volume, right? A 90 days for me to be a diamond in my company. And that was the drop dead date. And even the owners on my upload, when I was really close, I was off by almost 100,000 with 36 hours to go. And it's not nice to say, but they did it to me. So the owners of the company told me to quit, not quit the business. They said, it's way too far. Nobody's ever done diamond this fast, and nobody's certainly ever done 100,000 in sales in a day and a half, right? It was January 30th at around noon. I had till January 31st at midnight. And they're like, just do it next month. And that's where I told you all about the February situation. If I can't do it now, I'm not going to do it in February. And again, the 7th of March was going to be our convention where you walk the stage. So if I hit it even in March, I wouldn't be on stage till October when we do our next convention overseas. So it was like a drop dead situation. That just made it on top of, because I'm just already have my dates set, and you cannot change your dates. You must have milestones along the way too. It's another thing. You just can't say, I'm going to do $1 million in my 3rd month, but your first month you do 10,000, your second month you do 15,000, your third month you're not going to do $1 million. That's way too big of a leap. You haven't built any momentum, you haven't built any goodwill, you haven't built a customer base, a rep base, a sales base, anything, right? So my goal for the first month was like about 100,000. I think I ended up doing 200. What a running head start. 200,000, 60 my first 30 days in, which really let us fly the second month. We had to start over from 0 in month 2, but think of all those reorders, all those customers we already put in. The date plus your goals gives the structure to the rest. You can see that. Divide your goals into time. I kind of went through that without looking, and stay on track. The quick example here too is the numbers might change, kind of like for me, right? I had to do 100,000 on my last day, and I did 900,000 in 29 days. It didn't make sense, but again, I'm practicing what I'm preaching to you guys. So let's be a little bit more realistic with numbers you guys can digest. Let's say you needed to do $6,000 worth of sales in your company, and it was the 27th of the month, and you had 3 days left. Well, that's easy. This is what I do. I write down on my whiteboard, 2,000 per day, right? I have 3 days, 6,000, 2,000 a day. Now, if for some reason I have no sales on the 27th, and now it's the 28th, we don't adjust the date and say, all right, well, in the next 3 days, I'm really going to go get him, Tiger. No, the date stays the same. You now must stay up later and wake up earlier and make more calls to get this done. You now have 2 days, and you will sell $3,000 per day for 2 days. Actually, I should have wrote 2 days there. But that was wrong. And if you have no sales that day, then what becomes the new goal? What becomes the new mantra? What becomes the new requirement? I'm pausing so you can shout the answer to check yourself. If you're following along, that means you have 1 day left. Yes, unfortunately, you backed yourself into this corner. It is time bound. So you have to sell $6,000 on the last day. That's just how it is. It's not fair. It's not fun. It's not easy, but I promise you it will be worth it. Procrastination is the enemy of success. I know this because I'm a huge procrastinator. I made this presentation just minutes before I started speaking, and I knew about it all week. I haven't grown out of this habit since high school. I do work good under pressure, I must say, but I guess if I, heaven forbid I spent a week on this, I can only imagine how well it would, how good it would have turned out. I love this clock, by the way. I almost bought a watch at one point, and I call it Now a Clock, and I just love it. It doesn't matter what time it is now. Just do it now. Whatever you need to do. The reason why you're checking the time, because you probably have some kind of goal or something to do or whatever. Just do it now. Simple enough. So here's a little bit of bonus stuff as we wrap up. Dream or vision boards, super important. And I'll tell you something, and we're going to get into this probably on the next slide, I think. I used to roll my eyes at all this stuff. It's better to give than receive. I'd be like, then give it to me. You know what I mean? And, especially Tony Robbins and all these guys would tell you all these weird things to do. I had an upline once that before, when he was backstage, he'd do 20 push-ups. The guy's wearing a 3-piece suit. He had like a 20-inch neck. I'm like, you're going to kill yourself. But he's just like, doing all these push-ups. He's pumped. His face is turning purple. He comes on stage like, how are you doing? Like he was ready to rock, right? He was already in that state. He was, so whatever you need to do to get your pump on. Some people look in the mirror to give themselves a little pep talk. Some people do whatever. Some people listen to music beforehand. These things, I call them corny, right? You're like, man, I don't need to do all that. Blah, 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 blah. Before football games, we used to grab each other's face masks. One of the single most dangerous things in football. There's a penalty for it, face masking. You do it twice in the game, you're kicked out of the game. We used to grab each other's face masks and smash our heads together. I mean, the stupidest thing ever. Oh, I want to give myself a concussion just before we start this playoff game. But we were just getting pumped up. So you want to share your goals publicly, or at least with your upline, even your downline too. Let them hold you a little bit accountable. Let them see you working out there, right? You want to set your goals and share them publicly. Some of us, I'm the kind of person, I'm too scared to set a goal publicly and not do it. Because I know a lot of people, and they're going to check in on you, and they're going to watch you, and they're going to this, and they're going to that. And some of us, we just need that, right? Some of us need that tough love. Some of us need to be told. Write it down. You've heard that, but I bet you don't always do it. You know, a lot of you, whatever business you're in, I know there's a lot of people on this call right now watching this video that are in Epic. Have you written down what your goal is, what you want to be? Founder, founder 500, founder 1000, founder 2000, icon, ambassador, whatever it is. Yeah, you got it in your head, but something magical happens when you write it down. I promise you this. If you don't write it down, it's going to hurt you. If you do write it down, one of two things will happen. Either it'll have no bearing on your outcome or it will help, but it certainly won't hurt. So why take a chance on something so simple that has a chance to actually work? And if you're not doing it, then there's a little inkling of yourself. I'm not trying to be mean, but that's a little bit why you're not getting what you want. Not just in this business, but maybe in your relationships, maybe in your life, maybe in a bunch of things. Sorry, I don't mean to be tough, but let's, you know, I'm hiding behind this camera right now, hiding behind this PowerPoint. Maybe if it's, maybe I upset 10 people, but I help one, and I think that's worth it. These are the little things you're doing wrong, and it's the easy stuff. You know what's hard? Selling people, convincing people, getting people to do something. You know what's not hard? The things that I've shared for the last half hour. Writing things down, being pumped up, have a specific goal. What is your dream? Have a dream board. Oh, Kevin, man, I don't do no arts and crafts, brah. I'm not cutting out a picture of a Corvette and sticking it on my wall. Then you will never have a Corvette, period. Now, just because you put it on your wall doesn't mean you will, but if you don't, I know you won't. So why tempt fate? Measure daily. Keep a journal. Again, back to the fail to plan. Be committed. Have a funny little story. You might have heard it too, but I'll keep it short. It's just the chicken and the egg. They're both, you know, they're both involved in the breakfast process, right? The chicken is involved. The pig is committed. If you're having bacon and eggs, figure it out. All right. So corny and hocus pocus, man. You can hear my eyes roll like a bowling ball going down the gutter, just like rolling and roaring and ripping and running. When I roll these big old eyes, when you say some stuff like, you know, before you do a call, jump up and down 5 times to get pumped. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever. I'm naturally pumped, bro. I don't need to do all that jumping stuff. Right? Well, I'll show you a few little corny things that I've learned to do over time and show you some of the results. So when I moved from Canada to Florida, by the way, I wanted a BMW. I could afford one my first month in a business that I was doing, but I wanted this BMW. It was $127,000 in Canada. My wife's like, why don't you just buy this one? It's only $28,000. You made that last month. Because I don't want that one. I want this one. I'm going to pay the extra 10 grand to get the one that's a foot longer. Like, why do you want it a foot longer? You're only 5'7". It's like, because I want what I want. You know what I mean? And anyway, so I waited 7 months till I made enough to get this specific car. It's the only BMW I wanted, and I worked for it, and I loved it that much more. So when we moved to Florida, we had a real estate agent, we had some friends, we had some people show us around all over Florida, right? Where to get a place. And we looked at, you know, we didn't look at anything ghetto for sure, but we also looked at, you know, the middle, and I said, well, show us something like a little bit nicer, a little bit nicer. And she took us to this neighborhood called Quarry Lakes. And I was like, woo-wee. There was a bunch of Tampa Bay Rays from the Major League Baseball that live in this neighborhood of 1,000 homes. There was a bunch of Tampa Bay Buccaneers, one of my favorite teams, even before moving here, that lives in this neighborhood. And there were some of the Tampa Bay Lightning, the recent champions of the Stanley Cup. Woo-hoo. And so I looked at this house. It wasn't for sale. I think in the background, you can kind of see there's a sign on the wall. By the way, some people got a lot of money. We've been in Florida for a little over 10 years. Nobody lives in this house. There's just a sign on the door saying, no, it's not for sale. No, don't find me on the MLS listings. No, don't try to make me an unsolicited offer. No, don't offer me any price. It's not for sale. So whoever owns this house obviously has multiple homes and hasn't even been here in 10 years, as far as I can tell. So what I did is I pulled up my car. Look at his driveway. It's all like it's got some kind of wax over it, right? It's all shiny. And I pulled up in this vacant house's drive when I took a picture, because this is my dream board. This was my screensaver on my iPhone for about 6 months. It was also my cover photo on Facebook for about 2 months. I took it down because people were like, Kev, I always knew you'd make it big time. I love your house, man. And I felt like a little bit of a liar, and I didn't really want to say, no, it's not my house. I just parked my car there. So I took it down. You know, see, people make you feel, and they change your feelings, right? So I took it off of Facebook, but I kept it on my phone. And that was that. We picked a nice house, but not this one and not this neighborhood by any stretch, with the security guards, the gates, the everything, right? And we lived about 5 miles away from here. And then something happened and we were forced to move about 4.5 years ago. So we had to find a new place. And so we moved. And then one day I was out for a walk, you know, trying to lose those 70 pounds I was talking about. And I was a little tired because it was 2 miles that I'm walking in a circle. And I was about 100 yards from my house. And I stopped to take a picture of myself. It's the exact same house. Here's what's cool about vision boards and dream boards. This person now is 16 houses away from me. And I didn't move here because I wanted to. I didn't move here and say, I made it, Mom. I didn't move here because I planned to. It was just embedded in my spirit. And as a matter of fact, I didn't even notice that I lived next to where I dreamed of 5.5 years ago. It took me 4 months to have that aha moment of, I don't want to say anything as corny as like, I feel like I made it. But, you know, whatever, insert line here, whatever you think of this, that's what it is. You know, this person became my neighbor. And that's kind of cool. And all, you know, my house isn't quite as big as this by any stretch, but they don't put any bummy houses next to these ones either. So do with it what you will. That's because this was my screensaver and this was my Facebook picture. So choose your picture wisely. Don't put a picture of your Doberman pincher. At one point, not going to get into it because we got to wrap this up. I'm probably going a little bit longer than I planned to. A few things happened, a few bad choices. And even after making some money way back, I think this is 2011, actually. You can see on the top right check. I was just really depressed. I put up some big numbers in a couple of companies. Things just went sideways and I was just depressed. And we were losing all our money. We're living on savings for about a year, and that runs out after a while when you're not bringing it in. And my wife had to get a job that we told nobody but our children. You can see 49-cent donuts. She went and got a fast food job for minimum wage, working graveyard shift only. We had fallen so far down that she was just that this was our only income. We just had to do the graveyard shift because they paid an extra $1.25 an hour. So $1.25 times 40, right? 40 hours a week she was working was worth it to us. I mean, she was grumpy to be working. This is the first job she ever had at 37 years old. So I was a little happy that she was working, but it's not the job you want your wife having at any age, right? And especially when you're not working. I'm just moping around in my pajamas saying, where'd all my money go? How'd this happen to me? You know, for months. And, but she was a soldier, man. She just did what we had to do. We were living on $1,700 a month at this point, and with a $1,600 mortgage and 7 mouths to feed. And finally, I snapped out of it. I took her check. I invested in a company. You can see the name there. And in 45 days, I just snapped out of it. I made a goal. I called 200 people. I made a list of 200. I called 74. 14 were ready to go. And that's all I ever called on that list. And I told them I was going to get a $25,000 bonus in 45 days. And I'm going to put 12 people into BMWs, including me. The only thing I lied about was I was not one of the people in BMWs because, like I told you before, I waited 7 months to get mine. And we made $15,000 and got a $25,000 bonus. So $40,000 in 45 days from a family that was working only at Tim Hortons. And for those of you watching in the United States, it's Dunkin' Donuts. For those of you watching that don't know either of those places, it was a crappy job at a restaurant, the donut version of McDonald's. And you can see there, by the way, my username was 5-star because my goal was to be what's called a 5-star super ambassador by the end of the year. Well, within my first year, I hit it exactly on the same day that I started, 365 days. So just my username. Are you guys getting that granular? Did you just pick your name, you know, blahblahbusiness.com/Kevin, or worse, blahblahbusiness.com/Kevin526. If you have a number in your name and it doesn't have any meaning, change your name. If your email is Steve629, change your email. always be closing. Even I got my email addresses even are a sales pitch, right? So anyways, we got to wrap this up. But you can see we went from fast food to $375,000 just in bonuses in a year. You can do it when you have a goal. Did it before, never going back to that situation again. So these are just some examples. I'm going to just kind of skip through these just to keep it short. But let's talk the second note right there. Recruiting. You know, what I do typically is I have a goal. I recruit 10 people, right? Personally, you guys can all do this. And I try to find 3 and motivate 3 of them to get 5 people. That's what that means. 3 of my 10 to get 5 in a month or whatever time period we deem that we're all going to do it. 3 of them to get 2, 2 of them to get 1 person, and 2 people are going to do nothing. That's pretty typical. And this is usually how I launch a business. Say I joined you today or you showed me some business. Usually I won't join for 2 weeks because I want to have this done before we start so that our first day, that would be 15 people, right? Plus the 10, that would equal, plus those numbers there, sorry, would equal 33 people for the month. You can pause this video and look at how I worked out those numbers. But that would be, in the current company we're in, which is $100 a month, that'd be 3,300 in sales. And that would be founder 1,000 in this business called Epic. That'll pay you $1,000 per month or $12,000 per year. If the monthly amount doesn't impress you, extrapolate that over a year. Something that I think all of you, if you really had to, if I promise you $12,000, I had it right here, you know, a stack of $100 bills, 120 of them, if the math is right. If you can go find 33 people, you don't even have to find 33. Find 10, then crack the whip on those 10, right? Motivate and inspire them and turn that into 33. How soon do you think you can do that? You have to start looking at things like businesses do. Most companies I've been in my career are usually around the $500 mark. So the same numbers would be 16,500 BV. That's a pretty good number, right? And that's just off your personals and your personals. I'm not talking about any like team growth, customers, the whole 9 yards. Some businesses, people can put people on your team. But what I'm going to bring to the table in my first month is 16,500. Easy peasy. It's not a big number. Look at this and you guys can do the same thing, right? So time frame of the example above, you know, whatever time frame you want it to be, but you got to make sure you stick to it. I'm going to just breeze through this. I was in a company, that same company I was talking about. Those little products you see there in the blue and white box were hard to come by. The company was selling out of them. And so what I did is I came up with an idea. Everyone had a limit of 2. Again, we had millions of people in the company. They couldn't make them fast enough. So I called all the people on my team or emailed them and said, hey, are you buying your 2 this month? They're like, no, man, I just bought my kit for 500 or 800 bucks. I got no more money. And plus I got some in my kit. Okay, do you mind if I log into your back office and I buy them? They're like, well, then that will count for my auto ship. I'm like, correct. So you'll be like, well, you would do that? I was like, correct. And anyway, so I did this. I ended up with 400 boxes when nobody in the company was allowed to have more than 2. I posted this picture on Facebook. You can't believe the chaos it created. And I wasn't bragging. I was just proud of myself. And other people even bigger than me, making more money than me, all the other diamonds were calling the owner. Why'd you give all those things to Latmore? No fair. He's a cheater. It was just being clever. I had a plan. And if you think about this, the numbers are crazy, but it cost me about $24,000. But that's $24,000 in volume. I make 12% on all that volume in my team. So that was $2,800 that I got back. Plus I incentivized and I ran a contest. Anybody that sponsored 2 new people that month that was already in the business, right? You have to already be in, and brought in 2 new people. I was going to give you 2 boxes. People went crazy for that. I got 400 boxes. So think about that. That's like another 400,000 in volume from the incentive program that I ran. So you see how my mind starts to work. You got to look at all the numbers from all over. And by the way, some people were selling these, which you're not really supposed to, but they were selling on eBay for $200 a piece because of the demand that we had created and the hype and the craziness that was going on. That's just a small fraction of it. So you got to think outside the box, as all that picture's saying. And that's pretty much it, guys and girls. Thank you so much for listening. I know I went a little bit long, but I think this truly is a very, very important skill set to put together and to master. You know, SMART goals. You have to do them. Vision boards are not corny. Be careful what you do with things like your Facebook cover photos. Every little thing helps. You got to remind yourself that it becomes so granular that things just start happening to you by accident. I'm in a business right now. It's funny. It says MLM Icon right there. We're in a business right now where it's $100,000 a month for a position called Icon. Guess what my username is? Icon. That's simple. Every time I got to log into my back office, everything I got to do is all based around Icon, 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 Icon. And sorry to call myself an icon, but had a couple articles written about me, and apparently that's how a lot of people referred to me as. And I think it's kind of cool. And it might be a little bit in your face, but it also pumps me up and it holds me to a standard that I feel I got to participate in, and the way I got to carry myself and the way I got to carry my teams and the way I got to serve people and give back. So with that being said, we're going to officially end this call. I'm so thankful to everybody that's been on. Look forward to seeing you on some more. I promise to keep them high value. I'll do my best to keep them a little bit shorter and punchier. But again, especially for this first of the series, I really wanted to bring something to you guys that can make a difference in your life. Again, none of this was bragging. These are things that have absolutely, you've seen me at the bottom, right? You've seen me with my wife working at a graveyard shift, windows, by herself, by the way. And for minimum wage, well, that's only 10 years ago right now. And to think how much our life had changed when we decided like that to do it. She was mad when I invested in that company and went back to networking, but it's something that we knew and it's something that worked out for us. So I wish you guys all the best. Comment below wherever you see this posted. Let us know what your favorite takeaway is. It could be something small. Could be that I talk too long or my voice is too crazy. Just interact with us. That's another thing. Motion creates emotion. Get involved. Don't just sit back and not participate because you're cheating yourself. All right. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you soon.